Talking. Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is your boy Chris, representing 2132.wordpress.com. Uh, well, the NBA season, the 2014-15 season, has officially come to an end, and we have crowned ourselves a brand new champion, and that is the Golden State Warriors. Congratulations to them, Steph Curry, first year coach Steve Kerr. Congratulations to all of them. They finished the season with the best record of 67-15, and they had a lot of pressure on them entering to the playoffs because when you finish the season with the best regular season record, you are expected to win the NBA championship. So congratulations to them. And also, let's give some acknowledgement to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's keep in mind that, at this time last year, they were a lottery-bound team for the third straight year and in the running for the number one pick that they used for Andre Wiggins. And we all know how that turned out. They ended up trading that pick to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Kevin Love. So they have done a really good job as far as building that team upon LeBron James' return back home. Golden State, what more can you say? They really outdone themselves. They were able to execute efficiently on offense, and it just seemed like they were a step quicker than the Cavaliers. The Cavs made a run at the end of the second quarter and going into the third quarter when they did have the lead briefly around the 10-minute mark. I believe they were leading 47-45. And then after that, Golden State went on a 16-5 run and never looked back. And it seemed like the Cavaliers could never recover once Golden State came back and took the lead and continued to inflate the lead to 10 to 15 points. Even at the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. And really, the Cavaliers, it seems to me that they ran out of gas, if anything. I really felt like the key players that they have, such as Mozgov, Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, it seemed like for some reason those guys just could not hit any shots. They just could not get any type of rhythm, any type of flow offensively. It seemed to me LeBron was forcing a lot, like he was trying to be the savior, as he has been for this entire series. And they just could not recover. They just could not recover. And as of right now, LeBron James' finals record stands at 2-4. So he has won 2, but he has been defeated for the fourth time in his career. So I'm sure the next couple of days you'll hear a lot of talk going on as far as comparing him to the greats, such as Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and all the other greats that we've had in the past, which I think it's unfair because LeBron James is a great player in his own right. I think that he's a great player for this generation, for this time. So I don't think it's fair to continue to compare him to the legends of yesteryear. So what we're going to do is that we're going to move on into the question Q&A session. Some of the questions that the viewers have had, I'm going to answer them based on my observation of the game. So we'll start with the first question.
All right. So first question from some of our viewers that emailed in to the blog already was, did Andre Iguodala deserve the Finals MVP?
Yes, he did. To be honest with you, I want to make that an open-ended question. Not only did he deserve the MVP, but I felt like Steph Curry deserved the MVP. Draymond Green deserved the MVP. And we cannot forget about the contributions that came from they came from David Lee off the bench. Those guys really, really stepped in. And it seemed like every night there was somebody else jumping in and contributing for Golden State. Even when Andre Bogut was having a hard time, they were able to fill in the gap with role players who really could just come in and just give them anything that they need. In my opinion, I feel like it should have been a team MVP. I feel like it should have been a team Golden State Warriors MVP because those guys played great ball. They distributed the ball left and right. They found the cutters, the open man for the three. They all really stepped in and played a huge role in this entire series. I know there was talk about LeBron James possibly being named the MVP, the first player to be named MVP on the losing side since Jerry West back in 1969. But in my opinion, I feel like the winner of the MVP should always come from the winning team. So really, to tell you the truth, you can't go wrong choosing any of those players as far as the Finals MVP.
Cool. Next question that came from offline a moment ago. So what happened after the Cavs took the 2-point lead?
Oh, well.
How did they fall apart? What happened?
Well, after the Cavaliers took a 2-point lead to Golden State, they went on a run. They went on a 16-5 run right after that 10-minute mark in the third quarter. And it seemed like Cleveland, they just could not recover. There was a lot of poor body language from the players on the bench. I felt like LeBron could have done a better job displaying better body language. There were times when the cameraman would cut into him sitting on the bench, and he has his head down between his legs. He's not interacting with his team. I feel like at that moment, that's your time to really step up as a leader, to be vocal and to rally your guys together. Say, hey guys, let's work this out. But even when they cut into David Blatt talking to his team about there being a lot of game left and to trust your teammates and not to give up, it seemed to me like the Cavaliers, just kind of got up off the bench, just kind of walked off and really had tuned him out. I just could not understand that sequence or really understand what was going on the Cavaliers bench in that time. The game was far from over. Golden State had inflated the lead to 10 points, but then the Cavaliers come back, make a couple baskets, and you have a 2-possession game. So I really don't know what happened. It just seemed like they were looking for an answer, looking for some type of light at the end of the tunnel, and maybe looking for some leadership. And I didn't see that coming from anybody besides the coach. I felt like a lot of that leadership should have come from LeBron with better body language. So next question.
Okay. Next question that just came from our blog, our 2132.wordpress.com blog was, what does this mean for the, quote, greatest player in the world, unquote? Where does LeBron go from here? Where does LeBron and the Cavs essentially go from here?
Well, as far as LeBron James, I don't feel like this loss will tarnish his legacy. I think if anything, he should give himself a pat on the back. I mean, you decide to make a return back to your original home team, and against all odds, to lead your team to the finals in the first year. I think that's very, very impressive. When you look at the mid-season moves, you look at Mozgov, the trades for J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert. They got these guys halfway through the season. I want to say around January. And at that time, the Cavaliers were really struggling. They were They had the 5th best record at the time. They were only 19-20. They got on a nice run right before All-Star break and really got into a nice flow leading up to the end of the season to jump up the ranks and earn that number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. So I feel like LeBron should have given himself a pat on the back for leading his team. And also, let's not forget that they lost Kevin Love in the first round against Boston, and Kyrie Irving was in and out of the lineup against Chicago and Atlanta in the conference finals. So LeBron's legacy, I feel like, is still intact. I expect for him to come back next year even hungrier than ever before in an attempt to make another run at this thing.
Cool. Next question. And this is actually coming from folks that do follow the blog on a regular basis. They kind of called us out and said, we were wrong in our prediction. We predicted Cavs in 7.
Yeah, we were wrong. We predicted Cavs in 7.
So just a few words about how they got turned around. And, was our prediction valid in the beginning and then something turned around? Like, what was that turning point in our prediction? Because we even had Stephen A. on board. Skip Bayless on board saying Cavs. So, where did we go wrong in our prediction?
Well, I felt like we were accurate looking at the players who were available at that time. What happened is that, in that first game, in the fourth quarter going to the overtime, Kyrie Irving collided knees with Klay Thompson, I believe, and fractured his kneecap. So I really felt like that played a role in possibly taking away chances of the Cavaliers, even though they're able to rebound and bounce back and win Game 2 and Game 3 once they returned home. I felt like that was the turning point for them in this series. And LeBron had a monster series. He was averaging around between 35 and 40 points. He scored 40 in the first game, 39 in the second game, then 44 in the third game. And really what happened is that Golden State Warriors, they made adjustments. They said, hey, we don't have the size to really compete with the Cavaliers. Andre Bogut, he's being unproductive. Let's go small. Let's work with what we have, what's been working all season. They made adjustments. They returned to small ball. They moved Draymond Green to the 5 spot, which really gave them more versatility and more scoring options out on the floor. So I feel like these transitions as far as in lineups between games 4 and 5 turned the series around for Golden State.
Cool. Okay. So another question that came in was, would the finals have had a different outcome? And I think you touched on this a bit. If Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving were present and active.
Absolutely. If Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving had been available, easily we could be sitting here talking about how the Cavaliers won this series in 6 games. Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, those are 2 all-stars in their own right. And even though the Cavaliers struggled with chemistry early on in the season, when they had everyone healthy and everyone on the same page, this was a really good basketball team. They propelled themselves up in the Eastern Conference standings and were able to grab the number 2 seed. Now, think about it. If they had had this entire team together for the entire season, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, if Mozgov, J.R. Smith, and Iman Shumpert had been there with the team from the start, from training camp, who's to say that the Cavaliers would have not had the number 1 seed instead of the Atlanta Hawks? So obviously those 2 guys were big. Those guys contribute so much to the team, offensively and defensively. And LeBron, he can only do so much. It was obvious that he really missed them. He really did. He needed somebody to feed off, a scoring punch, someone to help take the load off him. And he just could not find that person because the two people that were going to be there to help him with that scoring load would have been those two guys. So absolutely, not having those two guys made a huge difference in the outcome of this series.
Great. So again, just throwing out our blog, 2132.wordpress.com. Last question of our post-game coverage right now. Let's kind of switch gears. Congrats to the Warriors. We've stated where the Cavs can go from here.
Yes.
How do you feel about the home team, the Chicago Bulls, with the changes with Thibodeau and the new coach and kicking out Adrian Griffin and a lot of the other supporting staff? Just as a last question before we sign off, quick statement. How do you feel about the Bulls in this upcoming season and where they are right now?
Well, I feel good for the Bulls. I feel like that they have just a good enough chance to move up in the Eastern Conference and possibly move on to the finals like the Cavaliers. Obviously, there are a lot of chemistry issues with the team as far as personnel. There was a lot of disagreements and button heads between Tom Thibodeau and upper management that we knew was evident during the season, but a lot of these stories came out at the end of the season after he was let go. So they have a new coach in Fred Hoiberg, and as you all have been keeping up with the NBA news feeds, that right now the Bulls are in the talks with Jimmy Butler to negotiate his new contract. They're not sure if they're going to sign him to a short-term deal or long-term deal, but they are in the works of signing him to a contract. So I really feel like if they bring everyone back together, if Fred Hoiberg is able to communicate with upper management, they're able to implement a new offensive style to really give them more flow, and maybe change up the personnel as far as the use of them. Maybe move Joakim Noah to the bench and move Taj Gibson to the starting lineup alongside with Paul Gasol to give them more balance starting off and more balance off the bench. So, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen within the next couple months during the summer.
Cool. Okay, so last thing before we sign off, 2132.wordpress.com is our blog. You can find us on all of our social media as well. Those addresses are on our blog. Chris, where can folks follow us now that the championship is over? What will we be up to on the blog? What kind of coverage will we be providing over the summer and going into the next NBA season?
Okay, well, now that the season has officially come to the end, look for us to have analysis and predictions for the draft, which takes place, I believe, next week on June the 26th. That is next Thursday, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday. I believe that is June 26th, June 27th. I will check back. Please don't hold against me. But it is coming up within the next week. So please keep tabs with us as far as our draft analysis, guys who are coming out, the teams that they'll be going to, the roles that we expect them to play with those teams. And of course, following the draft, we will have analysis on the NBA Summer League, because the NBA Summer League will be hosted in Las Vegas. And actually, the Summer League schedule was just released today. So please check your local listings for that. I believe it begins on July the 11th. So it'll be maybe a week or two after the 4th of July holiday. And then the Summer League will begin the following week, hosted in Las Vegas. And the schedule just released today. Okay, so thank you all, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, checking us out here at 2132.wordpress.com. It's been a fantastic playoff run. This is probably one of the most exciting playoffs that we've had in quite a few years. And I look forward to seeing more surprise teams maybe getting in and making a run to a championship, just like the Warriors. So thank you all for tuning in, and check us out next time. Okay, this is your boy Chris. I'll talk to you next time. Peace.